Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Danae Wolf. I am a financial literacy coach and a profit strategist, which means I help entrepreneurs like you increase your profits and decrease your stress by taking control over the money in your business and stop allowing it to control you. I believe that this can all be done through financial education. I know that when you have a solid foundation based in financial literacy, you are able to make and keep more money. And my goal on my tiny corner of the internet here is to help you guys understand all of this complex jargon and all of the very complicated issues that seem to come up when we're talking small business finance. So I like to come in, keep it simple, and really help you guys get a firm grasp. Now, if you like learning about all things small business finance, I'd love for you guys to check out my group program, Profit Perfect. You will be able to go at the pace that you are comfortable with going through each of the modules where we're going to cover everything from how to read a profit and loss statement to should you be an LLC, should you elect S Corp. I'm going to break down for you guys how taxes work, because if you want to be able to spend less on taxes, you really have to have a firm understanding on how they actually work. Now, all of these things are included in the program, as well as weekly Zoom calls where I pop into Zoom with my students and you can ask me all of your questions. While I think these YouTube videos and podcasts that I do are very, very beneficial, sometimes there's follow-up questions. And the best way to do that is on a Zoom so we can converse and go back and forth. So all of that is included within the program. I will link it below, and we'd love to see you in Profit Perfect. Now, today, I am really excited about this topic because it's just something that I get really passionate about. And I feel like I say that a lot when I start these trainings, but I want to be really clear with that. I only choose to do these trainings on stuff I'm really passionate about. So that's probably why you guys hear me say that a lot. But today, we're going to be talking about how much you should pay yourself. Now, this is something that I hear a ton in the entrepreneurial community. People are just wondering, how much should my business be paying me? And I want to make sure that you guys are being really smart when you answer this question, because the right answer of how much your company should be paying you is really based on you. So, what do I mean by that? Well, all too often, I find that entrepreneurs are designing businesses that cannot support and sustain the life they desire. Okay. We want both of those to be in alignment. So, what exactly does that mean, right? Well, let me give you a very specific example. If you are someone who says, I want to make $50 a week and I only want to work 1 hour a week, you now need to take a look at your business model and say, am I designing a company that can actually do that? And a lot of times you're going to see that those two things are not in alignment. The kind of money you want to make, the kind of lifestyle you want to live cannot be delivered to you with the company you're designing. And it's really important that we go through this process to first figure out, what do we want? Because a lot of entrepreneurs leave a job either because maybe they felt, that they weren't appreciated. Maybe they felt they weren't getting paid enough. Maybe it was their schedule, right? And we dive into entrepreneurship because we want to be in charge, right? We want to be our own boss. We want to be, in charge of our destiny. But you don't really want to put, what's the saying, the cart before the horse, right? You want to actually sit back and say, okay, what do I really want? Okay. And the way that I like to do this is through what I call the win method. This is something that my students learn very in depth within Profit Perfect, but which is my signature program, shameless plug. I know I told you guys about it in the beginning. But when we are determining how much we should get paid, we first need to go through and figure out what it is that we want out of life? Okay. What is it that we need in order for us to feel fulfilled? Because the last thing we want is to be building and designing a company that is never going to make us feel fulfilled, right? So when we walk through this WIN method, okay, WIN, the W stands for want, okay? How much money do you want? What is your dream life? Think and dream big here, okay? And in this want bucket, so to speak, I want you to really think, these are my hopes and dreams. These are the things I want. Okay. They're not going to be the things that you need, which we'll get into in a second. But this is what you are striving for, what you hope to attain. And this is not just money we're talking about, guys. We are talking about lifestyle. So you might want to make $150,000 a year, but the flip side of that might be you only want to work 20 hours a week. Now, what if you find out you are designing a company that in order for you to get paid 150 grand a year, you have to work 50 hours a week, right? So now you're going to be in a situation where you're not building a company that can support the life you desire. And that's why going through this WIN method exercise is so critical to you guys really being able to feel that your life and your company are aligned and that you're fulfilled. So step one is really figuring out, what do you want? Okay. What are your hopes, dreams, and desires? How many hours a week do you want to work? How much money do you want to make? What is your ideal life? Now, the second letter in the WIN method is I. I stands for impact. I want you guys to think about the impact that you want to have in the world. Okay. Do you have a charity that you would really like to be able to give a certain amount of money to every single month? And maybe it's not money, right? Because I've done trainings on this before. When it comes to giving, guys, it doesn't necessarily need to be money, right? We can give of our time, but we have to figure that out, right? Because if we want to give of our time and there's a cause that you really would like to volunteer for, we also have to then back that into our business, right? Because now we're saying, okay, I can't work Tuesdays from 3 to 5, right? So that's 2 hours I'm losing because I would really like to volunteer at my local homeless shelter, right? So you want to make sure that you are crystal clear on this vision of the life that you desire, the person that you want to be. What is your ideal life? All right. So to recap, we've got the W, thinking about what do you want, right? What is the money you want to make? What are the hours you want to work? I is talking about the impact. Okay. This is all about giving back to your community, your friends, your family, the world, right? Whatever that impact is. I've gone through this exercise with students in Profit Perfect who have really big dreams of impact, who want to start like global charities and really change the world. This is important. And if you guys think that having to really sit down and get serious about the impact you want to have on the world, if you think it sounds a little like woo woo, this is probably not the channel for you, because I definitely believe that if we are here, I always say it and I always butcher the quote, but it's the Spider-Man quote, right? Where he's like, to those with much power comes great responsibility, right? We should always be looking to have an impact, a positive impact on our communities and the world. So I encourage you to not skip through this step. I really want you to think, what is the impact? What is the difference that I want to bring in the world? And whether it's going to be money related or of your time, I want you to think of that in the big picture. I don't want this to just be an exercise where you sit down and say, I really want a Ferrari and a McMansion, right? That's great. And that belongs in the W. But I also want you to think, what's my impact going to be in the world? Because people aren't going to remember that you had a Ferrari. They're going to remember what type of impact you had on your community or on the world. So please don't skip this step. Then the final step in the WIN method is need. Okay. How much money do you need? Think of this as your current life. Okay. So the W stood for how much money do you want? How many hours do you want to work? Right. That's your ideal life. That's your hopes, dreams, desires. The N is what do you need? And what you need is your current situation, your current life. So let me give you a very basic example. Maybe right now, your car payment is $500 a month. So you need $500 a month from your business in order to pay for your car, right? Maybe the car you want to buy is $1,000 a month. So when you're thinking through the want, you would say, well, I need $1,000 a month for my car. So that's really how you are able to differentiate these buckets. Now, I want you to sit down with a pen and paper at the top of one page, or if you guys are a spreadsheet girl or a Google Doc girl, just at the top of it, write want. And then on a totally different page, write impact. And then on a totally different page, write need. You're going to walk through this scenario and really come up with exactly what your business needs to pay you, right? What you need to add on for the impact, and then what's the difference for the want. So your need page might tell you that your business needs to pay you $2,000 a month, right? But your wants might mean that you actually need $3,000 a month. And maybe when you look into your impact column, you're either going to discover that you have to start working a couple hours less a week in order to volunteer somewhere, or you're going to need an extra $200 a month, right? Whatever your scenario tells you. But once you have all of these numbers, now you know how much you should be paying yourself from your business because you took the time to walk through this and really figure out what it is that you need. Because too often, entrepreneurs, we get stuck in the weeds, right? We're stuck in the day to day. We're so busy. And a lot of times, what I hear is that you guys aren't paying yourself, right? Because your books are not in order, right? Your bookkeeping is a mess. So you're like, I don't even know how much I can afford to pay myself. And I don't even know how much I need to pay myself because I don't know what's going on at home, right? Because if your business bookkeeping isn't in order, I'm assuming your personal budgeting and bookkeeping probably isn't in order as well. So you really need to walk through this exercise so that you can say, okay, I need to make $30,000 a year from my business. That's how much I should be paying myself because that is what my life needs. Okay. So rather than sitting there and saying, okay, well, my business makes X amount of dollars a month, I'm just going to pay myself 10% of that, right? This random number that you come up with, I'm just going to pay myself 10% and that's all I can get, right? I am challenging you to reverse engineer this and say, what do I actually want? What do I need to be fulfilled? Why did I start this business? What was I looking to achieve personally by starting this business, right? Because it's never going to work for you if you are not sure what you even wanted. Because how would you know if you even got there? How would you know if you arrived at your destination if you didn't even know where you were trying to go, right? I want you guys to call your shot. I want you to walk through this win method and say, this is what I want. This is the impact I want to have. And this is what I need. And now I have a gauge of what my business should be paying me. And now you need to walk through the scenarios of your company to see if it works. So let's say you own a cleaning company and you've determined how many hours a week you want to work. You've determined how much money you want to pay after you went through the win method, right? And now you look at your company and you say, okay, this is how many cleanings I would have to have the company do in order for me to get this. Then you say, all right, so in order to do that many cleanings, I need this many cleaners. Okay. Then you say, I need this much in support staff if I only want to work this many hours, right? And now you sit back and you look at everything your company would have to do. And you say, is that in alignment with what I want? And here's an example of this. I've gone through this process with a student of mine, and it was a cleaning company. And by the time we were done, she realized that she was going to need to bring on 7 new cleaners, and 1 support system in order to scale the company to the point that she could work the hours she wanted to work and make the money she wanted to make. When she looked at that, she said, you know what? That type of cleaning company, that type of revenue, that large of a staff is really not in line with the vision of my life. I didn't want a company to be that big. I didn't want that much staff. That was not the vision I had. So instead, she turned around and launched a digital product and was able to scale that way. But the point here is she went through this process of figuring out, what do I want out of my life? That's step 1. Then you say, as my company is right now, what would my company have to become to give me exactly what I want? Now look at this company, what the company would have to become, right? Look at that company and say, do I want to own that? Do I want that many staff? Do I want that kind of revenue coming through the door? Because more money, more problems, right, guys? We know that. So if you need to double your revenue and double your staff in order for your company to give you the life you desire, that's a very different company than the one you're running right now. And you might look at that and say, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then the question becomes, okay, so what your company is doing now is providing X to your life. You're trying to get to the next level. How are we going to do that? We don't want to scale and grow your current company because that's not going to give you the vision of your life. So what is the next thing you could do? And that's when your wheels start spinning and you say, maybe I'll open a different company, right? I've gone through this scenario with people who say, oh, I only need to add 2 cleaners. Great, I'm in. Let's do it. And I've gone through it where they say, you know what? That's really not the type of business I wanted to scale and grow to. I would rather start doing some coaching calls, right? I've had people say, you know, I've really wanted to get into real estate. I'm going to start just flipping 2 houses a year. Boom, I'm done. I'm at my dream life. But you want to make sure that you're being smart about this, right? I think like just taking a step away from entrepreneurship and just thinking about, you know, regular employees. I think a lot of times when somebody says, for instance, they want to be a doctor, right? It's because they want to help people. I'm sure that's a huge part of it. And they want to make that money, right? But they might not be thinking, how many hours do they want to work? Okay. I've spoken to doctors who say, well, I love my paycheck, but I'm miserable because I'm working entirely too many hours, because they didn't walk through the win method, right? They didn't walk through and really say, wait, what is the life I want? What's the lifestyle I want? And in order to do that with my current company, what does that look like? When I went through this exercise several years ago, I realized that in order to get the life I desired, I would have to add a significant amount of monthly clients and a significant amount of team members, right? And I looked at it and I said, well, if I have that many clients, it's impossible for me to have that personal touch with them. And that's something I love. I love interacting with my clients and having, you know, fellow like-minded entrepreneurs being just a phone call away. So I would lose that. I don't especially love managing people. So having a bigger team didn't work for me. And that's when I decided I was going to launch Profit Perfect, because now I'm able to have Zoom calls and serve many students at once, right? So now I'm available and I can make sure that they're able to get that. And if I had not walked through this process and scenario, I would have just kept growing and adding more and more monthly clients and more team members. And I would have woken up one day and said, hey, my bank account is exactly where I want it, but I'm miserable. I don't want that to happen to you guys, right? We get into entrepreneurship because we want to live a life that we've designed. But when we don't take the steps to get really specific on what that life is that we want, and then make sure that the business mirrors that, it's like you're on a hamster wheel, just spinning and spinning and getting nowhere. Okay. So to answer the question of how much should you pay yourself, I don't know. Only you know that. So you've got to sit down and really think about, what do you want out of life? What is the impact you want to have? What do you need? And then come up with your number. And then reverse engineer that, guys, into your business and say, Okay, in order for me to work this many hours and make this much money, my company has to do X, Y, and Z. Well, in order to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to need to hire 3 people and I'm going to have this much in revenue. Then look at it and say, is that company going to make me happy? For me, the answer was no. I didn't want that many team members and I didn't want that many one-on-one clients. So I came up with a different path. We are in control of that. When I said before about being on the hamster wheel, you guys can get off whenever you want, but you have to be informed. You have to make smart strategic decisions. You are running your company. Your company is not running you. You have to determine what you want out of life and how your company can deliver it to you. And all companies are going to have their limitations, right? If you want to make more revenue in a cleaning company, guess what? You have to do more cleanings, which guess what? Means that you have to have more staff, right? Which guess what? Means that you're going to be managing more people, which guess what? You might hate. You have to think through all of this because the goal here, and I think it's not really talked about a lot, but I think the goal in entrepreneurship, yes, is money, hands down, but it's really a lifestyle, right? We want to check all the boxes of happiness. We don't just want the bank account filling up, right? We want freedom. We want freedom. And everybody's vision looks different, right? I talk to some students and they go, oh, I'm a 9 to 5er. I'll work 40 hours a week. And I talk to some who are like, I want to work 5 hours a week, right? Everybody's vision for their life is different. And you need to make sure that you are building and designing a company that can give you the life you desire. I hope that this was beneficial. And for those of you saying, well, I still don't know how much my company should pay me, right? First, walk through this win method. Figure out what you actually want your company to pay you. And then figure out how your company can pay you that. And then ask yourself, am I willing to do what it takes to get my company to the point that they can do that for me? And if you're still just sitting here saying, yeah, but I don't know what my company can afford. Well, that's a very different problem, right? If we don't even know what our company can afford, and that means your bookkeeping isn't in order, right? So I strongly suggest check out my YouTube channel, Danae Wolfe, DenaiWolfe. There's other videos there on bookkeeping, but I also just say, come on into Profit Perfect. I've got tons of QuickBooks Online tutorials that will help you guys get your bookkeeping under control because the answers you need to know in regards to what your company can actually afford, they're all sitting in your bookkeeping. But the answers of what you guys actually want out of life, sitting in your mind and they're sitting in your soul. And you need to make a little coffee date or wine date with yourself and figure it out and get it down on paper. If you guys walk through this process, my win method, let me know in the comments. And if you're here live watching it, also let me know in the comments. And if you're catching the replay, do me a favor, just do #replay. All of this just helps the algorithm, which helps these videos, which are completely free, get out to more entrepreneurs like you so that hopefully I can achieve my I in the win method, which is to have an impact through really making sure that everyone has access to financial education, which is why even when my schedule gets really hectic, I do my absolute best to make sure that I show up for you guys completely free because I think everybody needs access and deserves the right to understand and have a financial education. Hope this was helpful, and I hope I will see some of you in Profit Perfect. Talk to you guys soon.